All right, this video is going to talk about how to solve equations that have multiple steps. So a couple of things to review very quickly are what do we do in order to simplify a statement, such as the statement up top, and also how to solve an equation that has multiple steps to it, such as the equation on the bottom. So just at a quick review here, in the expression up top, you'll notice there's no equal sign. I'm not going to be able to solve for x, but I can at least simplify. Notice those parentheses. I can do a little distributive property. So I'm going to leave this 7 over here, but negative 2 times x would be a minus 2x. And again, don't forget your negative. Negative 2 times negative 4, or minus 2 times minus 4 is going to be a plus 8. Then we also have that minus 9x on the outside. Notice no parenthesis there, though. We don't need to distribute to there. Then we've got a couple like terms. Notice I've got the x's. So this is going to become a negative 11x. And we also have a 7 and an 8. So again, we get a plus 15. But again, it's not an equation. I can't solve for x. That's just the best statement we get. But again, distributive property and adding like terms, very important when it comes to simplifying statements. Down at the bottom here, we do have an equal sign. And notice on the left side, there's no simplifying to be done. We've got some multiplying and some adding. But again, there's not really anything I can do to this because I don't know what x is. But I could subtract 6 from both sides, therefore leaving me with 1/3 x equal to negative 14 on the right. Right? Those plus 6 minus 6, remember I'm going to do the opposite of what I'm trying to get rid of. So adding 6, I needed to subtract 6. I've got that negative 14, and then I'm going to multiply by 3, because again, 1/3 times x is just as good as saying divided by 3. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 3. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of what was already there. So times 3 on the right side. Again, 3 times 1/3 is going to disappear. X equals negative 14 times 3 would be negative 42. And we get our answer, which again, you could also plug back into the original equation and check your answer. The reason, again, we went over those two things, we're going to solve multi-step equations today. Multi-step equations. So there might be some simplifying. There might be multiple steps to take to solve. But what we want to do right off the bat is sort of start in that order. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the messy side of my equation here, 7x minus 3x minus 8, and say, hey, I don't have to do a lot of solving yet. I could actually make this look a little better. 7x and 3x are like terms, right? They're both x to the first. So 7x minus 3x is 4x. Then we're going to subtract 8 and end up with 24, right? So if I knew what x was, I would do those operations. I would multiply by 4 and subtract 8. But because I don't know what x is, and there's no more simplifying to be done, I'm going to go ahead and add 8 now, right? Subtracting 8 would have been the last thing happening. Therefore, it's the first thing to go, which leaves me with 4x, right? Minus 8 plus 8 should disappear. Again, if you want to slash those out, you can. Totally your choice. But that leaves me with, don't forget that equal sign, 24 plus 8 on the right would be 32. Then, if I'm multiplying by 4, I can divide away that 4. Right? Make sure you do the same thing on both sides. And we end up with x, because those 4's will cancel, equals 32 over 4 is 8. Again, we can take that 8, plug it back into the original equation if we want to, and check our answer. But I'm pretty sure x equals 8 is going to be a good answer, right? Because 56 minus 24 would have been 32, minus another 8 would be 24. Let's try another one here. Notice it's got a little bit more going on. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like. You can try this problem and then see if it matches up with the answer we come up with. First thing I would do is, again, notice that messy side. So I'm going to say 5x. I'm going to go and distribute, right, use my distributive property, that 3. So I'm going to say plus a 3x plus 3 times 4 would have been 12, right, is equal to 28. Distributing that 3 times x being 3x, 3 times 4 being 12. Now I can add some like terms, right? I've got that 5x plus 3x would be 8x. And notice how I'm just going to keep rewriting everything else. I want to make sure I write full statements every time. I want to write the whole statement out so that now when I'm ready to start solving, I can decide, okay, the last thing happening on the left, times 8 plus 12. Well, let's go ahead and get rid of adding 12. I need to subtract 12. Oops. And I'm going to subtract 12 over here on the right as well. We've got our 8x then is equal to 28 minus 12 would be a 16. And now to get rid of the 8, multiplied by 8, I'm going to divide by 8, right? Do the inverse operation. Do that same operation on both sides. 8 divided by 8 disappears. And 16 divided by 8 is 2. Again, you could take that 2, plug it back into the original. 10, right? Plus 3 times 2 plus 4 would have been 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. 10 plus 18 would be 28. Again, you can either check that on your calculator, or you could write out those steps to check your answer as well. In the interest of saving time and getting to one more example, though, I'm going to go ahead and keep on moving. Now, this one gives us an opportunity. We got a choice to make. Again, simplifying that right side sometimes is the best way to go. So let's do this one 2 ways. I'm going to kind of solve this in 2 ways. Again, feel free to pause the video if you think you know where you're going. You can try this, see if you get the same answer that I do. But I'm going to solve this one 2 ways. I'm going to do what I've been saying and go ahead and simplify. So over here at the left, I'm going to say 66 is equal to, I'm going to distribute my negative 6/5, right, into my equation. So negative 6/5 x minus, right, well, remember that's 3 over 1, so that becomes a negative 18/5. If you wanted to find a decimal, you can definitely do that. That would be totally your choice. Well, notice it's going to get a little messy. We've got some fractions going on, but we could keep solving. I'm going to add 18/5 to both sides. So add 18/5. Well, now I need to figure out what 66 would be in fifths. So 18/5 plus what? Let's go ahead and multiply the bottom by 5. And we'll multiply the top by 5. That would be 330. So again, we've got 300, and you notice that's getting a little messy. 348 over 5. Still not going to divide well, but negative 6/5 x here. And then finally, we could multiply both sides, right? If I'm multiplying by negative 6/5, I can multiply by its reciprocal, negative 5/6. Right? The 5's will cancel, the 6's will cancel, those negatives will cancel. I'm going to multiply by a negative 5/6. Again, all of this stuff in here is going to cancel away with that negative 5/6 out there. Well, let's go ahead and do it. We've got x on the right. Now, I luckily like the fact that we've also got that 5 on top here and that 5 on the bottom there. I don't have to worry about those. They can cancel away. I know I'm going to get a negative answer. And I just need to divide 348 by 6. Right? 348 divided by 6, which I believe comes out to a nice clean 50. Maybe I'm off there. No, 58, I believe. And again, check yourself on the calculator on that one. You can see if I'm right. But I believe negative 58 will be our answer. So even though the work along the way might have been a little messy, it still worked out in the end. Just happened to have a nice clean answer when we were done. Now, I did say there was a second way to do this without distributing. Remember, if we just think about that last thing happening, first thing to go idea, well, without distributing, x plus 3 would have been the first thing we did. Then the second thing would have been multiplying by negative 6/5, right, on that outside of that set of parentheses there, right? We would have added before, because of those parentheses, right? We would have added before we multiplied. So if we want to get rid of the last thing happening, well, then we could say, well, if this was 66 equals negative 6/5 times x plus 3, I'm going to rewrite there. I could just multiply right away by that negative 5/6, right? Same thing we had done over here at the left. I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 5/6. Again, on the right side here, it's going to cancel, right? This times the quantity times the other fraction. The order we multiply in doesn't matter, right? Commutative property, associative property, kind of a mix of the two there. So those two are going to cancel away. And now I just have to figure out, well, negative 5/6 of 66, I believe, is negative 55. And really on the right, I'm just left with x plus 3. Let's subtract 3 on both sides. And notice it worked a little faster and a little cleaner. Just happened to work out that way, mostly because this 6 on the left side nicely divided into 66 on that left side. So that kind of made for a nice problem there. But again, I still end up getting negative 58, which also makes me think, without that calculator, I still feel like we're doing the right thing. Again, if you have a big question on that big type of problem or on smaller ones, make sure you talk to your teacher. Otherwise, good luck and have fun.